This week on Stacklebeck on Terror, well, we're 1 year removed from our blockbuster special episode about the Muslim Brotherhood in America. That show has gotten hundreds of thousands of online hits, and now our panel of Muslim Brotherhood experts is back. They say the revolution sweeping the Arab world have made the Brotherhood stronger than ever in the Middle East and right here in America. Arab Spring, more like Islamist winter. Let's go to work. And welcome to Stacklebeck on Terror. I'm joined today by former FBI special agent and one of the world's top experts on the Muslim Brotherhood, John Guandolo. I'm also joined by one of America's top investigative journalists, Patrick Poole of Pajamas Media. Gentlemen, welcome back. It's great to have you here. Believe it or not, it's been 1 year since we last sat here and talked about the Muslim Brotherhood in America. It was a blockbuster episode of Stacklebeck on Terror. But a lot has happened since then with the Brotherhood in the past year. Before we get to that, I want to just give our audience a quick refresher course on what the Muslim Brotherhood is all about. Here's some key points. Founded in 1928 in Egypt, the Brotherhood is the granddaddy of them all when it comes to Islamic terrorist groups. The group's founding motto, the creed they live by, reads, Allah is our objective, the Prophet is our leader, Quran is our law, jihad is our way, dying in the way of Allah is our highest hope. Very moderate. Now, before Osama bin Laden, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, and Ayman al-Zawahiri formed al-Qaeda, they belonged as young men to, yes, the Muslim Brotherhood. And the terror group Hamas, they identify themselves as the Palestinian branch of, yes, the Muslim Brotherhood. So, guys, that's just a little rundown of what the Brotherhood's all about, what they stand for. Now, in the past year, since we last spoke, as I said, so much has happened with this group. The so-called Arab Spring, I think it's more of an Islamist winter, has really strengthened the Brotherhood's hand. John, tell us about the inroads the Brotherhood has made in their home base of Egypt in particular.
I guess it would be best to lay out what we saw actually happening versus what we're being told is going on in Egypt or actually happened. What we're being told is we're witnessing a freedom movement led by students who organized on Twitter and other social media outlets. This is a catastrophic disconnect from reality. We have actually the senior Islamic jurist for the Muslim Brotherhood and really one of the senior Sunni Islamic scholars in the world, Yusuf Qaradawi, essentially saying we need to retract. We, the Brotherhood, need to retract. Now, this is a year and a half ago or so, meaning the West is kind of starting to realize what we're up to. Maybe we need to retract.
And this is before the Arab Spring.
Oh, yes, long before that. Well, then al-Qaeda, in their U.S.-based English strategy magazine, Inspire, they essentially say to the Muslim Brotherhood, we're in Medina. We're in the jihad phase. We're in the warfare phase. You, Muslim Brotherhood, you need to align yourself. And then, of course, in October of 2010, we see Mohammed Badi, the leader of the International Muslim Brotherhood, openly say it is jihad against America and Israel.
And that's something our intelligence agencies, our government, completely ignored. The Muslim Brotherhood, John, as you said, literally declared war on America and Israel in a formal way.
Right, and more importantly, or as importantly as that is, they formally aligned their strategy with al-Qaeda. And that is a massively important point that the intelligence network let go. So people ask us, how were we able to be on Capitol Hill briefing that in the coming months we were going to see an explosion in the Middle East?
So you predicted this Arab Spring.
On Capitol Hill, and it's fairly easy if you just watch the little tick marks leading up to it. The real kicker was January of 2011 when we had a fatwa issued by the Brotherhood through the Yusuf Qaradawi's Islam Online out of Al-Azhar University, the most preeminent school of Islamic jurisprudence.
In Cairo.
In Cairo, Egypt, saying offensive jihad is now authorized. I mean, these are clear markers that were completely missed. So
this is all in the run-up to this explosion of revolution in Egypt and the greater Middle East.
Right. And so when we can demonstrate we were on record, when nobody in the intelligence community was, predicting that in the Middle East, most likely in Egypt, we were going to see the powder keg blow. And so what you see in Egypt then is not a movement that was just initiated by students that the Brotherhood took over, that we watched them lay this thing out and execute in Egypt.
You just laid it out beautifully, I should say horrifically, what they've done. Youssef al-Qaradawi, real quick, who John mentions, is probably the most influential Sunni Islamist in the world. He's a spiritual leader of the Muslim Brotherhood. He's kind of like a Muslim televangelist. He's seen by tens of millions of Muslims around the world. He's got a show on Al Jazeera, surprise, surprise, called tellingly Sharia and Life. Patrick, when I think of Sharia, I usually think of death. So it's a very interesting title that Qaradawi has. But look, John laid it out, what the Brotherhood has been up to, what they were up to in the run-up to the revolution in Egypt. What have we seen since then? Okay, Mubarak's gone. How have we seen the Brotherhood make inroads and gain power in that country?
Well, clearly the Muslim Brotherhood's been the winner in the so-called Arab Spring. We see it in Tunisia, where this initially started. Rashid Ghannouchi, the head of the Muslim Brotherhood, comes back from exile. In Tunisia. Then it spread to Egypt, and we see, the Muslim Brotherhood, they're contesting at least 50% of the parliament seats. They're backing several presidential candidates. So the situation is spread to places like Jordan, where the Muslim Brotherhood, the Islamic Action Front there is creating trouble. We see it in the Gulf states. So the Muslim Brotherhood has been the net winner so far, and it's only going to get worse.
Right. So Egypt, Syria, Tunisia, Libya, Jordan, we're seeing the Muslim Brotherhood really rise in prominence. It's almost like the mask has come off. John, like you said, this is a coordinated effort. Where's it going to go from here, especially in Egypt?
If you look at a map of the Middle East, what's really telling, and when we do this in a formal presentation setting, it kind of blows people away, is if you look at the countries that are now either being contested or the Muslim Brotherhood has really made significant inroads through the election process, mostly through the revolutionary process. The countries that they are now have created those revolutions in all surround Saudi Arabia. And they called a few months ago for a day of rage, which is an official term, in Saudi Arabia. And the only reason that we didn't see a day of rage is, number one, the Saudis are pouring billions of dollars into pacifying the Brotherhood leaders in Saudi. And they also, the Saudis, put troops in the areas where they knew that the Muslim Brothers were going to have the uprisings.
So they're very threatened by the Brotherhood's
true.
rise.
The Brotherhood wants to see the overthrow of the Saudi government, and I believe that in the near future you are going to see that. And I want your listeners, your viewers, to think about the strategic implications of that, especially if it can be demonstrated that Brotherhood leadership and Hamas leadership are working with Hezbollah and Iran.
It's an unholy alliance, an unholy axis. Patrick, hold that thought real quick. Now, we're talking about Egypt, Mubarak gone. I want to play a clip by the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper. This was shortly after Mubarak fell. This was at the time the Muslim Brotherhood was rising in Egypt back in February 2011. I think this clip is very telling in terms of what our country, our government, the Obama administration, what their reaction has been to what's going on in Egypt and the rise of the Brotherhood. Let's take a look at this stunning clip. The Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper. Take a look.
The term Muslim Brotherhood is an umbrella term for a variety of movements. In the case of Egypt, a very heterogeneous group, largely secular, which has eschewed violence and has decried al-Qaeda as a perversion of Islam.
Right.
They have pursued social ends, betterment of the political order in Egypt, and et cetera.
Now, Patrick, I don't know how a group called the Muslim Brotherhood could be deemed secular.
Yeah.
What's your reaction to that? That's our Director of National Intelligence, our top intelligence guy for the Obama administration.
It represents a colossal breakdown in our intelligence apparatus. I don't think a better example of how our government has misunderstood the Muslim Brotherhood. And even Director Clapper had to start walking back his statements almost immediately because it was so absurd. you know, the Muslim Brotherhood. And of course, Congresswoman Sue Myrick was asking the question.
Who's very sharp.
In that, and really got him. But the fact is that Director Clapper was reading from a set of briefing points prepared by the top analysts of our intelligence agencies. He was reading right off of them. You know, largely secular. You know, it's not a homogeneous movement, and our top analysts believe that.
They truly believe this. The Brotherhood can be used as a counter to Al-Qaeda.
And the CIA has paid for studies of the Muslim Brotherhood from some of the Beltway types here who believe that the Muslim Brotherhood is moderate. Guys like Robert Lakin and Stephen Brooke at the Nixon Center, and paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for these studies telling them that the Muslim Brotherhood is moderate. And they're everything but.
Yeah. Patrick, I think a key point here is that the Brotherhood, Al-Qaeda may differ in tactics just a bit, but at the end of the day, their goals are the same. Sharia law for one and all, and the return of that global caliphate, the global Islamic superstate. The Brotherhood, Al-Qaeda, two peas in a pod. Absolutely. Well, guys, this is just starting. We've taken a look at the Brotherhood worldwide. When we come back, we are going to take a look at the Brotherhood's infiltration in America. Yes, it's gotten even worse, if you can believe it, over the past year. Stay tuned. More coming up. And welcome back to this very special edition of Stacklebeck on Terror. I'm joined by Patrick Poole, John Guandalo, two of America's and really the world's leading experts on the Muslim Brotherhood. Guys, we're going to get into the Brotherhood in America. I promise. That's your specialties, one of your many specialties. But we were talking during the break, and I don't want to let these 2 points pass. Number one, John, you were talking about James Clapper, the Director of National Intelligence, that clip we showed, how he said that the Brotherhood is involved in social services and providing social welfare programs in Egypt. Tell me how that is actually not the nice thing it sounds like on the surface, how it's actually a key point of the Brotherhood's infiltration strategy.
The fact that we just take what they say at face value is a problem. The fact that he says they eschew violence. And he says that because they say they eschew violence.
Because they said the Brotherhood says it, so we should believe them.
That's crazy. If you look at the Muslim Brotherhood bylaws, their objectives to free themselves of the yoke of foreign rule, to reestablish the Islamic State, and to do all of this in accordance with Islamic Sharia. That's in their bylaws. The means to do that, you go down to it, it doesn't say we're going to build an army and invade America. It says we're going to create organizations, social and trade organizations, educational organizations, mosques, schools, clinics, shelters, and then we go into an area, we build an infrastructure, and then we begin spreading the ideology first. We begin recruiting people. We begin co-opting leaders in the religious community, the media, the educational community, the political community, and the law enforcement and the intelligence community. And when you do that over decades, the outcome is James Clapper saying this on national television.
And a key point here real quick is that this is not just us saying this, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Muslim Brotherhood's own documents that say this, uncovered by our FBI. So our government has no excuse. Patrick, you were going to say something.
Well, and also the role of the Islamic centers in the Accra memo, where they talk about the beehive model, and you know, first we establish a mosque, then a school, and then an Islamic center that provides a lot of these services, and that's exactly what Hamas did in Israel. And Israel in the 1980s were engaging the Muslim Brotherhood, and at the same time, the Muslim Brotherhood was developing the program that eventually became Hamas, the terrorist organization.
If I'm not mistaken, the Brotherhood's documents call mosques Islamic centers, quote, the axis of their movement, where, quote, battalions are supplied. So, hey, let's build a mosque at ground zero.
And this is all standard Muslim Brotherhood language, where it talks about battalions and the axis of movement and all this martial language. That is straight standard Muslim Brotherhood ideology.
Yeah, guys, we're going to get into the commercial in about a minute, but I wanted to ask you, Patrick, about one more crucial point, Iran. When we think about Iran, when I think of Iran as really the epicenter of global jihad. They're the ones paying for it, funding it, spreading the ideology. How's Iran working with the Brotherhood right now?
Well, it's funny that you hear a lot of these counterterrorism experts say, well, the Sunnis and Shia, you know, they hate each other and they would never work together. But in fact, you know, the evidence is exactly the opposite. Iran has been funding a number of these groups. We know that Iran has funded and continues to fund Hamas to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars every year.
Right. Well, Patrick, we have to leave it there. Coming up, a stunning, stunning clip showing our law enforcement in this country, some of our leading law enforcement officials embracing the Muslim Brotherhood. Believe it. Stay tuned. And welcome back. I'm joined once again by Muslim Brotherhood experts Patrick Poole and John Guandolo. Gentlemen, I want you to take a look at a very interesting clip, a very disturbing clip out of Los Angeles recently. Our good friend Tom Trento of the United West, I guess you could say, confronted the deputy commissioner of the LAPD about the Muslim Brotherhood and the department's embrace of the Brotherhood. Take a look.
The message is not to demonize the Brotherhood here, but to create
not to demonize
the Brotherhood. It's a political body that is having a voice, that we should listen to the voice, and we should give them a forum to talk.
Not to demonize the Brotherhood. Call me crazy. I think the Brotherhood has done a pretty good job over the last 80 years of demonizing themselves. Patrick, what's your reaction to that clip? That's one of Los Angeles' top law enforcement officials.
Well, and not only that, he's the top counterterrorism official for the largest police department in the country. And he, the following day, he testified on Capitol Hill on Islamic radicalization. And here you have him saying that, you know, we can't demonize the Muslim Brotherhood. Whatever that means. Does that mean we can't criticize them? Does that mean we can't point out the obvious? You know, here's what they say. This is what their documents state, and that's the net effect of the policy that Deputy Chief Downing is really promoting. Is, you know, we really can't bring all this bad information to light because these are the very people that we're working with.
John, this is a problem across the board, not only in law enforcement. The Obama administration has made a conscious decision to embrace the Muslim Brotherhood as outreach partners. Talk about some of that infiltration in this administration.
Few key individuals come to mind in organizations. First, the key organizations that the administration are working with. Leadership, both senior directors and the president of the Islamic Society of North America. The leading Muslim Brotherhood entity here. The Brotherhood itself calls it the nucleus of the Islamic movement in North America.
Its own documents, the Brotherhood's own documents identify ISNA, the Islamic Society of North America.
Correct. We have so much documentary evidence that ISNA over the years directly gave funds to Hamas. That's why they're unindicted co-conspirators in the largest Hamas trial ever prosecuted in the United States in 2008. So much evidence. So the Islamic Society of North America, the Muslim American Society, mostly DHS seems to be really working with them quite a bit. Known Muslim Brotherhood entity. I mean, the Muslim Brotherhood themselves say the Muslim American Society is an Ikhwan organization, so there's not a lot of debate there.
And CARE, the notorious Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE.
I prefer just to call them Hamas, because that's what they are. We know that factually, evidentiary, that is a Hamas entity. And then the Muslim Public Affairs Council, out of Los Angeles, which would explain why Deputy Chief Downing has a problem understanding the threat from the Brotherhood.
And ladies and gentlemen, real quick, I just want to make a point here. This is not just some amateur saying this. This is a former FBI special agent, is John Guandolo, who's worked on major international terrorism cases. So we have the best here, and they are telling you what these groups are all about. Patrick?
The FBI and federal prosecutors have gone into court and said these organizations are Muslim Brotherhood front organizations. FBI agent Lara Burns testified in the Holy Land Foundation trial that CARE is a front group for Hamas. They've said that the Muslim American Society is the ideological training arm of the Muslim Brotherhood in North America.
Yet the Obama administration is embracing them. Why?
That's the mystery.
That's a million-dollar question, I know.
Because, you know, from a utilitarian point of view, we've got nothing out of this relationship. We've got nothing
Except
out of
jihad.
this Muslim outreach. We've got more jihad. We have more homegrown terrorism today coming out of these very same groups than ever before.
Well, leave it right there, Patrick. Coming up, the conclusion with my guests. What do we do about the Muslim Brotherhood? Don't move. And welcome back. I'm joined by Patrick Poole, John Guandalo. Gentlemen, we only have about a minute left. Final thoughts, Muslim Brotherhood. Patrick, I'll start with you.
I think my final thought would be is the worst is yet to come. The Arab Spring is going to turn into the Muslim Brotherhood winter, and it's going to get bad and worse.
If that's possible. John, how about you?
Well, you've got senior Muslim Brotherhood leaders advising the leadership at DHS, advising the National Security Council. We are winning the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan on the ground in the battles, completely lost them strategically because the very people advising us are the enemy. And in our counterterrorism strategy on the ground, that's happening too. The optimism I have is the great unknown is the American people. They have to wake up and hold their local, state, and national officials accountable.
Judeo-Christian Western civilization is something worth fighting for. And so is the United States of America, the greatest country in the history of mankind. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. That's all. But thanks again to Patrick Poole, John Guandalo. Until next time, take care and God bless.